Hello, very beautiful community. Let's talk takeaways, big picture takeaways from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting and the parade in Beijing. The first takeaway is one you've heard everywhere, and that's that Trump was jealous about not being there. But what you haven't heard is exactly Trump's relationship to it. Trump is ideologically allied with Modi and Putin and Xi in the way he's not allied with other Western leaders. So he's not just feeling excluded because he can't make a glorious enterprise of looking like he represents American power. He's frustrated about being excluded by shitty little conditions in the West from being as close as he would like to be to other authoritarians around the world. And the takeaway from that is that for the duration of his stay in power, we have a sense, but not a certain sense, of how long Trump will stay in power. But for the duration of his stay in power, he's going to try to find ways to, as he would feel it, just cut the bullshit so you can be closer to a figure like Putin. Now, the second takeaway is one that, again, you would have heard, and that's that optics matter, and that there was a bit of trolling of Trump there, especially by Modi. And Trump would have hated the commodiousness of Modi with Putin in the car, in part because it kind of looked just more substantial than the thing that Trump put together in Alaska. The third takeaway is that the US strategy of peeling Russia away from China is not working. Now, make no mistake, do not overestimate the quality of Russia's relationship with China. It's a relationship that is completely compatible with not just all kinds of unlovely dependence of Russia on China, but all kinds of unlovely and even warlike things happening between the two countries. Potentially at the future point when the Putin regime is weak or gone. But nevertheless, the American idea of peeling Russia away from China is a wish, but not a strategy. Now, the fourth takeaway is, again, pedantic one you would have heard before, and that's that India is hedging away from Washington. And that's because, fifthly, US power is more unpredictable than it's ever been in modern history. And consequently, the United States is seen as unreliable and aggressive. And this presents an opportunity for the second greatest power in the world, China. Not so much because the Chinese are going out of their way to do all these things to take advantage of a vacuum that the United States is leaving, but because all kinds of other powers are saying, well, we can't rely on the United States, so we can look more toward China. 6. The infantile way of doing politics, international politics, via threats and lack of follow-through or follow-through on these threats, infantile threats, is not effective. It does not get you the result you want if you're the United States. Trump will carry on doing it because he can't help himself. He doesn't know what else to do. And he doesn't understand global politics very well. He largely understands it as a set of personal relationships. He can't really conceive of the strategic picture that the Chinese are operating with, or the strategic picture Russia, India are working with. And as a result, it's very hard for him to change, very hard for him to adjust. So he'll keep on making infantile threats that are actually going to push countries away from the United States. 7th takeaway is that this is bad for Ukraine, because we're seeing the interpenetration into not a set of alliances, but or a set of treaties, but at least a set of kind of relationships with positive elements of with other countries of Russia. So Russia is deeply enmeshed in the globalized world. The deglobalization of Russia is not working. And that means that the prosecution of the war for Russia is more sustainable for longer. 8. Ukraine's got a geopolitical problem, and that's that the United States has gone off wandering and don't think it can entirely come back just because Trump gets voted out of office. Trump is an expression of the problem. He's not the primary cause of the problem. Europe has not quite gone wandering yet. It's at risk of going wandering when many Trumps get elected in Europe in the coming election cycles. But even though Europe's not gone off wandering, Europe is stronger in rhetoric than in actual concrete positive support for Ukraine. There's a lot of that too, but there's also a lot of rhetoric that's not going to be translated into support. And the problem for Ukraine is that it fundamentally relies on Europe now. Europe is going to be, as things stand, the difference between positive and negative, or an in-the-middle outcome for Ukraine in the war with Russia. But Europe can't deliver, as things stand, Ukraine's security needs. And so Ukraine is dependent for its existential needs on a bloc that can only very partially fulfill them at best. And so Ukraine's predicament now is how to make itself more geopolitically indispensable in a world in which it needs to look beyond Europe. The final takeaway, takeaway 9, is a softer takeaway because it's the point that we shouldn't overestimate how much all of these SCO countries are allied with each other. Relations between India and China are terrible in many respects. Relations between China and Russia can go sour very quickly in the medium term. So it's not hunky-dory for all of these competitors of the West. And in fact, Western countries are more united than SCO countries. The problem is that while we might be more united, except for the United States, we're struggling with capacity in a way that's secondary to democratic decline at home. So that's just a testament to the fact that we live in a world of frenemies increasingly, in which the post-1989 global order has collapsed. And I made a video about this on the main channel about a couple of years ago, and if you haven't seen it, I'm going to leave it just somewhere here for you to catch up with it. I'm going to be doing more on the main channel, and upcoming, health allowing, and I've already set out the points I want to make in it, is a video about the fact that Trumpism and Putinism are the same thing. It's something that's not being spoken enough. It's not being explained enough. And it's very important to understand that the Putinization of the West is not about some kind of ideological infection coming from Russia to us. There's a global ideological disease of which Russia just happens to be a particularly extreme victim that is also now organically growing in the West. It's constituted by elements like fascism, monarchism, and neoliberalism, and I'm going to put them all together in a major way for us, because there's quite a lot that's being said about the global wash ideologically, and how it's related to the ideological identity of Russia. But it's not quite being said with a proper understanding of ideology, which means that the real practical import of what's happening is not coming out of these discussions of either Russia's ideology or some ideology that's Putin-like, that's doing the rounds in around the globe. So we're going to do that very soon. Meanwhile, the 2-year-old fragmented global order video will be somewhere here. Lots and lots of love. Till soon, beautiful community.